2. We have to cross an estuary to get to Fenix by bridge, which creates a divide between the country and the city. The beauty of the countryside ends abruptly, as fields turn into blocks of houses and industrial warehouses. The water separates the rolling green hills from the man-made colors of gray and copper. They've been left to the devices of age and decay. A first-time visitor wouldn't expect this to be what's known as the most beautiful city in the world. But these are the thorns that surround the rose. I can already see the tall towers of the city center from the train window. The changes to the city began before I was born. Despite the Reformation, my father always said moving was the best thing he ever did. Whenever the people of Orbelle would gossip about trouble within the town, my father would shake his head and insist none of them knew what crime was. He told me he had seen crime before the lenses became compulsory. He wouldn't tell me what he'd seen, but I knew he would never move us back to the city. Even after the riots against the authorities and Wolf HQ ended, crime became near obsolete, and they began pulling some of the more damaged buildings down. My father had eyes only for his beloved mountain. He said we were safe here. Now the older version of the city lies, still habited and used, but ignored. The center of the city embodies all the wealth and effort put in to turn Fenix into something wonderful. But the outside still serves as a gentle reminder of life before the laws changed. Laws, they say, are meant to improve our lives. Fraud, violence, abuse, and deceit are reduced and controlled. Criminals who violate laws are identified immediately. Drug and alcohol abuse is all but unknown. Only prescription pills are altered so as to not affect your lenses. According to the rest of the world, Fenix is a city where good can truly shine. Truth is easily identified, health is better monitored, and everyday life is controlled and safe. This city is a most desired idealism. While the older buildings fade, along with memories of the past, the future of Fenix appears golden. And so we pass the dirty stone walls and washing lines running from wall to wall, like spider silk, until we roll into Fenix city center. Advertising boards change, from detergent and soaps, to celebrity-endorsed books, and Cornelius Morgan, the face of Wolf, who appears to be promoting yet another Wolf development. When we pass through a tunnel, I notice a handful of young people scrubbing the walls clean of graffiti. They're being surveyed by armed members of city police, and I catch some of the words under soap and scrubbing brushes. "They blink with blood," is one of the comments. And the graffiti artist has depicted the wolf's globe emblem, with a red ocean instead of blue. The red spray paint has seeped into the green, used to create the rest of the globe. As such, our land is being swallowed by a bloody sea. Whoever did this will be severely punished. I quickly sit up in my seat and choose to look at my mother instead, until we reach the station. We step onto a clean, shiny platform. It's impressive to look at, but to the ears this station is a living hell. I grip my mother's hand and steady her down from the carriage. "I'm going to find out where we're going, don't go anywhere." I lead her to the side, out of the way. I don't take my mother into crowds, because people don't understand why she stands rigid and unmoving for them. I've seen people shove her in the past, not acknowledging her white cane. People constantly stare, although she doesn't know it. It's not strictly their fault. Blind people are an exceptionally rare sight, since Wolf became known globally. They can cure almost any optic ailment. Except, we've discovered, that which they created themselves. Maybe today they'll tell us there's been a breakthrough. She stands patiently, her cane planted squarely between her feet, like a swordsman driving the top of his blade into the earth. I remember some people used sticks to detect motions and sounds from the ground. She looks concentrated, as always, and the rumbling of trains and clatter of footsteps must be deeply unnerving for her. Okay. I take her arm again. Let's go. We could use the public transportation, but after the train journey we're both glad to stretch our legs. We walk through parks, under bridges that support standstill traffic, and past many monuments, before reaching the shops. I find it mind-boggling to watch the other people my age, dressed in city clothing, with their headphones in, and their hair chopped and colored. If I'd been born here, as I ought to have been, I suppose I'd be one of them. Everything always looks fresh here, as though someone's repainted it every time we visit. They probably have. Beauty here is reinforced by how many water features guide your path, how few homeless people walk the streets, and how often businesses alternate their window displays. It wasn't always like this. It took a lot to reform this city after the riots. Phoenix isn't completely free of crime, of course, but wolf lenses eliminate so much potential trouble, and make everything so easy to manage. That leaves the authorities with more time and money to focus on appearances. They've taken wolf's color charts to extremes here. Wolf has a shade of color for every human emotion, and the city has done its research to make Phoenix an idealistic place. Whether they've succeeded is another matter. After all, you can't take stress out of the everyday. People are still occupied, still impatient, and still driven by business deadlines. There's still the everyday bustle. Still the endless sound of people chatting down their phones as they hurry. Still the need to be somewhere else, faster than one can walk. But at least the environment is controlled. Hans would say it's all false, and every color is artificial. But one could argue it's tidy and monitored. The only thing that negatively affects people here is the stress of the working day. I've seen 10 black-eyed businessmen already. People are stressed, but they're stressed in a city that knows every shadow of stress, and the colors that can be used to combat it. Their favorites are blue, green, and brown. The colors most associated with happiness, love, and calm. Hans once told me the water in the fountains was dyed blue. I don't know whether to believe him or not, but somehow the water's surface always manages to give the feel of a sunny day, even if the sky is thick with grey cloud. The trees don't exactly thrive here, like they do in the countryside, but the city has worked hard to keep the ratio of green and brown even and symmetrical on both sides of the streets. The tops of the trees are pruned perfectly. You wouldn't get anything looking so military in Orbelle. In spring, the trees will blossom into a beautiful shade of pink. They don't mind such feminine colors in spring, when everything is being reborn. They let the petals fall like confetti, encouraging tourists to take photographs, although they send road sweepers out thrice a day to keep the streets clean. They present the color red with a heightened sense of control. You don't have to worry about any of that here. They only use red in reference to something within a contained situation. Some products are permitted to use red to signify things like high sugar content or heightened levels of adrenaline. The only pamphlets and billboards that display red are advertising things like laser tag or glucose drinks. Nothing dangerous. Nothing the city can't control. If the city could limit the color yellow to only one source, it would be the natural, glowing sun. But you can't avoid all colors, and they use yellow to paint lines to limit parking, and on signs warning you away from danger. Yellow puts you on alert, but it keeps you safe, and doesn't raise any panic. So, what's changed? My mother holds her face up against the breeze. I clear my throat, and look around. Well, the butcher's is now a tattoo studio. That coffee shop we once went to is now an internet cafe, and there seems to be a new hairdresser above the tanning place. Not much else is different. Good grief, there are enough hairdressers in this city to attend each strand on my head, my mother says. I'm almost glad I don't see some things change. Still, it's all for your generation, I suppose. Let me know if you want to stop anywhere, Lynn. I've not visited a hairdresser, or bought a new outfit, for years. I rely on Anna to grow bored of her old clothes, and my own skill with the kitchen scissors. The idea of being able to treat myself is exciting, but I wouldn't know where to begin. I decide we should check in at Wolf HQ, and get our main objective out of the way. I didn't realize Wolf picked a bad day for our appointments. The streets are filled with military recruits. They're identifiable on sight. These are Wolf X recruits, the city's most renowned military, that works in conjunction with HQ. They have the most advanced lenses, unavailable anywhere else in the world. Their uniform is treacle black and tawny brown, and their eyes are defaulted the same colors. They don't appear to emotionally respond to anything. What's going on? My mother stops when I do. The street we wanted is roped off. I've no idea, I say. It's clear we'll need to take another route, so I lead her down another street. The path is paved with glass, and made to look like running water. When I place a foot down, a lily pad will surface to give the impression of supporting me, and keeping us afloat. My lenses catch sight of holographic fish, beneath the glass. It's mesmerizing. But suddenly the fish turn and swim away. And I look up to see a group of people marching against the gentle current, carrying boards, and wearing shirts with hand-painted slogans. I pull my mother out the way and let them pass. I think I get it, I say. It's a public demonstration, and these things are usually well scheduled. People are allowed to make statements, and share their views on compulsory lenses, but only on Wolf's terms. They're a good show, provided the protest doesn't get too passionate. They help demonstrate why the lenses became compulsory in the first place. There is usually a counterpart to the protest, which will insist upon Wolf's continued law. Provided no one steps out of line, it helps tell the story to the people. This is part of our modern history, after all. That must be why the Wolf X recruits are on standby. There's a danger these things may go too far. I think about the words, "they blink with blood," and wonder exactly what will happen to the people who went as far as to defile Fenix's beauty. I notice none of the marchers are looking up. They keep their eyes on the lily pads beneath their feet, and march on. Only when one of them nearly bumps into my mother, do I get a glimpse of one of the faces. It fills me with such horror, I pull my mother out of the street before she can ask what's happening. I stop in another street, underneath a holographic rainbow, and collect myself. What is it? My mother listens for me. I thought I saw. I shake my head. I couldn't have seen it. There's no way I could have seen what I thought I saw. It must have been a reflection in a shop window. I couldn't have seen red in that man's eye. Not even during a protest. Red eye is an appalling crime. I dismiss it, and carry on, under the rainbow and towards HQ. I have a feeling the sooner I am inside a building, the better.